So are you worried that when you're fasting, that you're starving? It's a good question. Many times we're a little concerned that if we begin to enjoy an intermittent fasting practice, that we will actually be slowing down our metabolism, and nobody wants that. Today's video, we're going to talk about the difference between fasting and starving and answer a few questions about intermittent fasting, because in my opinion, intermittent fasting is where the magic happens. And as a menopausal woman, you want magic. Hi there, I'm Connie Rutledge, functional nutritionist. This is Over 50 Fat Blast, Fat Loss Secrets for the Over 50 Woman. I'm glad you're here. We're going to talk about fasting and feasting. We've talked about that before, but we're also going to discuss a few pitfalls and problems that you encounter when you begin a fasting lifestyle. So settle in, maybe grab a cup of tea or coffee or water, and let's get started. I think the number one thing to appreciate is that when you begin fasting, you need to ease into it, because a lot of us that are not at a healthy weight, we are struggling with something called insulin resistance, and our blood sugar is a little bit wonky, and we feel really, really rough in the fasted state. Hypoglycemia, low blood sugar, tired and weak. Our mood is a little bit off, and we worry that we're not doing our body a favor, or we're not going to get the nutrients we need when we're in the fasted state. Well, let me clear this up. When you're fasting and there's no calories coming in because you haven't eaten anything for 12 to 24 hours, your body uses the stored glucose in your muscles and in your liver. And when you're fasting and you tap into your body's ability to use fat for fuel, you're doing just that. You're using stored fuel, stored fat, and you're burning excess that's sitting around on your body. You're not starving to death. Trust me. The average body has several weeks of stored fat, and that's not even an obese person. That's an average weight human that has that much stored fat for fuel, just ready for a famine. I mean, we're designed that way. We're designed to survive. So appreciating the fact that we can go days and days and days with no food and still be just fine, I want to clear it up for you. I want you to understand that it's not about starvation. In the fasted state, the truly fasted state, your body will switch over and use stored fat for fuel. All right, I've said that ad nauseum. The question I get often is, Connie, won't I shut my metabolism down if I eat too few calories? Well, no, because when you're starving, truly starving, your body then feed off of muscle and organs, and obviously we don't want that. When you're fasting and your body is metabolically flexible, you will feel calm. When you get into fat burning mode, when your body is in ketosis, your body feels really, really good. You become more focused. You have energy. Your body's actually sparing muscle in ketosis. And my goodness, it's using your fat for fuel. That's the way we're designed. You're actually conserving nutrients, and it's the body's preferred state, honestly. Very metabolically efficient. The trick is to prioritize nutrient-dense food, because when you're eating 1 to 2 meals a day, you need to make sure that you are feeding your body adequately to build muscle. and to keep muscle mass. Eating high protein, quality fat, and adequate carbohydrates can look like this. Maybe you start the day with a frittata or a scramble with plenty of eggs, some meat by way of sausage or ground turkey, ground beef, some vegetables. And I always say, let's definitely figure about 30 to 50 grams of fat in that first feeding window. You can round out the meal with a piece of fruit or maybe some protein pudding. That's a great example of about 50 grams of protein in your first meal of the day. You will feel pretty satiated and comfortable. You might need a digestive enzyme to help you if your digestion is a little bit sluggish. You might need a little magnesium, but you should feel pretty great after that meal. A good rule of thumb to figure out your protein macros is 1 to 1.2 grams of protein per ideal body weight. And I also want to stress that all proteins are not the same. Animal protein is going to be much more preferred and heavier hitting than plant-based proteins. It has to do with the amino acid profile. That's why I like the Perfect Aminos supplement that I talk about in almost every video, because it ensures that I'm getting enough of the right types of amino acids in the protein and I'm building lean body mass. I also want to stress that it's very important to strength train. Yes, you need to be active. And that's the daily, moving around. If you need to take a walk for that, that's great. If you're busy around the house or in the yard, that's great. But prioritizing protein and utilizing your body's ability to build muscle by strength training, and it doesn't have to be crazy, just get some resistance training. It can be 20 minutes of whether you use bands, whether you use dumbbells, body weight exercises, but do something to build muscle so that you can be more efficient at rest and forevermore. Because ladies, 40% of us after age 65 are completely protein deficient. When we don't have proper protein ingestion, we're going to lose muscle. And losing muscle is the worst thing we want as we age. We want to maintain and even build muscle. So that's why I harp and I stress and I preach that you are needing the foundation of proper protein. When you don't have proper protein, you're tired, you're anemic. Your body does feel like it's in starvation mode, especially if you're fasting and not getting enough fuel, which I don't think is the case for many of us. If we're fasting, then we're going to put it in gear and feed ourselves appropriately. Now, I think the question I had this week was about how do I get all my protein in? How do I get all my nutrients in when I'm only eating one meal a day? Okay, that's a valid question. When you're only eating one meal a day, certainly that's not going to be every day, then you prioritize your protein. Get at least 50 grams of protein in that one feeding window. And you can have, as many carbs as you tolerate. But you're not going to be eating one meal a day indefinitely. We don't ever want to do the same thing day in and day out. We want to vary our fasting window. And if you get really comfortable with one meal a day, great. But appreciate that your body is going to want to be kept guessing. And when you are super comfortable, that's when things start to get murky. Okay? You would think it would be still waters, soar, but that's not the way the body works. So if you're intermittent fasting and you're feeling like your body is stalled, then shake it up. Either take that fast into more of a 24 to 36 hour fast. And then the next day you eat 3 meals and prioritize your protein. You never want to stay stagnant and do the same thing day in and day out. So that's why I kind of preach the 5-1-1, where you do 5 days of maybe anywhere from 13 to 18 to 20 hours in the fasted state. And then one day you don't fast at all. And then one day you don't eat at all. So try to stress your metabolism by yin and yang and back and forth, changing it up. You do need to exercise every day. Something. You've got to do something to stress your muscles, to build your muscles, to build your stamina, to lift your mood and strengthen your mind. I mean, it's essential. Another thing is to plan ahead. Make sure that you know what you're going to be eating. No willy-nilly, I'll figure it out when it comes time, because none of us do well when we fail to plan. So be sure that you keep it simple and get that highest bolus of protein first thing. And then you can have that second meal if you're going to do that. Obviously high protein. When you plan your day that way, you're less likely to have cravings. You're less likely to snack. You're less likely to feel like you're not going to make it to the next meal, because you have the right nutrients on board. Nutrient density is key. Just like exercise is key. That resistance training, bake it into your day. Make sure that you prioritize building muscle so that you can be a fine-tuned machine and look and feel like you want to look and feel. Another question I got this week is about fasting and diarrhea. So after a longer fast, when your body has no food, your intestines have no food coming in, and it's time to eat, sometimes you experience pretty significant diarrhea, and that could be due to a few different issues. Now, if you have gut issues, digestive issues, you deal with lots of GI stuff, then it could be the sloughing off of, the old cells and, just regeneration. But a lot of times, if you don't necessarily have unhealthy GI, your GI tract has mucinous cells that obviously produce mucin and kind of like slime. It's a protective layer, and they're not doing much while you're fasting. When you begin a meal, they almost overproduce. So your body produces a lot of mucin and you get diarrhea. So it's not anything to be extremely concerned about. And from what I've experienced, it gets better and better and better. It's almost like you're training your body to, appreciate the fact that you don't need to produce that mucus and mucin. We're fine without it. It is designed to help lubricate the bolus of food that's coming in and protect your body. So that's the way we're designed. Don't be too worried about it, especially if you're new to fasting. Now, if you are not new to fasting and you have had this problem and it continues, then maybe you want to, reach out and ask for help, because it might be a microbiome issue that you might want, might be a quick fix. So I can help you with that. I also want to stress that your mindset and your way of thinking about the way you're feeding yourself is very important. A lot of times you think, okay, I'm going into this long fast, I better eat a really big meal. Or maybe I'm going to, you have a celebration meal before your extended fast. That's not a good idea. The reason for the fast is to get into ketosis. It is to get your body burning and using fat for fuel and not adding a bunch of carbohydrates and calories to the mix. So having that mentality of, oh, I'm just going to go ahead and celebrate before I do this significant, long-term fast, that's not a way to think. It's also the same detrimental thinking when you plan your feast meal after the extended fast. Don't do that to yourself. It hurts. Trust me. Your blood sugars are going to be all over the place. Your body's going to be super confused, and you're going to undo all of the beautiful cellular reboot that you work so hard for. So plan a really strategic meal, something you enjoy. Maybe you're going to have something like lobster or shrimp or a ribeye. Maybe you're going to kind of dip your toe in and have a brothy soup to break your fast. Believe me, you want to strategize and allow your body to kind of ease into the meal when you do a longer fast. Don't dive into French fries and a burger. So those are a couple tips, kind of explaining all about, fasting versus starvation and how to remedy some typical problems that might crop up when you're beginning to master this fasting lifestyle. I also get the question of, do I have to do this forever? Well, if you want to feel good, yes. We don't villainize carbohydrates. We don't villainize anything but junk food and a lazy lifestyle. But everything in moderation. You're worth the effort. Plan ahead. Keep the stats. If you're curious, use your tools like the glucometer, the KetoMojo. Tally up your protein grams. Tally up your carbohydrate grams. Make sure that you know what you're putting into your body. Stick to the plan and don't overthink it. If you're having trouble and you just feel like you can't do it, reach out for help. Help is available. And most of the clients that I see, when we create that recipe for success, you get excited and you get to the point where you're really ready to do it. Sometimes it's just a mindset shift. And when you start treating your body with respect and ticking all the boxes and really shoring up that really wonderful foundation, that's when the magic happens. I really want that for you. It's worth the effort. I just thought of something else. I know that you are quite aware, if you've been following me for a while, that I love Equip Food, Prime Protein, grass-fed beef protein powder. It's clean. It's a great source of protein. I would say that you want to include that in addition to animal proteins. It's sweet, and sometimes it's a little too sweet for me. So what I've been doing is I've been playing with the unflavored. So in my Greek yogurt, which I tolerate well, and if you don't, you can add it to almond milk or maybe a plant-based yogurt, maybe cashew, almond, or coconut. And I'm talking about my pudding mixture, right? But I'm using a whole scoop, which is 20 grams of clean, absolutely one ingredient protein powder. And then I'll put maybe a half or so of the flavored stevia sweetened, whether it's chocolate, salted caramel, peanut butter, or vanilla. And my goodness, that's amazing. You can add some berries into that. You can add some nuts into that just to kind of change the texture and give you a different kind of mouthfeel. But that's dessert. It's worth checking out. I definitely have a discount code in the description box. Highly, highly recommend it. There are a couple other paleo protein powders that I recommend. I do not recommend soy. I do not recommend rice protein. The pea protein is okay. So just check your labels and yeah, enjoy that option to maximize your protein. Okay, that's it for today. Ladies, I know it feels like a lot of effort for not a lot of results, but keep it up. Your longevity relies on your lifestyle. Your choices make all the difference in the world. And when you do better, it's easier to keep on keeping on. If you slip up, pick yourself up, dust yourself off, have compassion for the fact that we're only human and we make mistakes. But let me tell you, once you master intermittent fasting and you are dialing in your amazing macronutrients and you're prioritizing the protein and the workouts, progress will be made. Thanks for being here. I know you're here for the longevity and the fat loss, and I support you 100%. See you next time. Thanks.